Hey guys, it's Lenny G, and we got Bobby here for episode 4 of Focused Action. And today we are going to be talking about our calls to action, because that is really what this is all about, is what we do every day to basically assert our rights, defend our rights, and, speak out with our pen to be heard. I mean, we all have a way to redress our grievances. They don't always work, but it feels really good, damn good, to send letters and do phone calls and send emails as a collective, because a lot of times you think, oh, I've sent letters before, I've done these things before, but no one ever listens to me. When we do it as a group, as a whole, it makes a huge difference. And so that is really the key part to all of this, is growing our group, growing strength in numbers. I mean, honestly, the left and the right, or whatever they're trying, whatever operation they're trying to drive, they will pay people to do these kinds of things, because honestly, like, the only way to make change is with sheer numbers. And so I think that when we realize that, when our city council person says, oh, I got, 50 phone calls about this topic last night. Well, like, what if all those people were paid to do that? And it wasn't in the interest of your community. So how do you fix that? How do you resolve that? Honestly, like, no amount of money thrown at something can replace a grassroots effort. None. And when people really care about their communities, and they get involved and they realize that, hey, the only people keeping these clowns accountable is me and all my neighbors, that's when everything changes. If you just are that kind of person that just sits there and is like, nah, this sucks, what can I do? Then you're not going to get anywhere, right, Bobby? I mean,
Yeah. One of the things about the calls to action that I think are super fun is that you can like a letter that you sent to the World Health Organization, or a letter you sent to the Attorney General's office. Like, you can share that with a friend or a neighbor or somebody who doesn't really know what you're doing or what group you're doing or what are the kind of activities that you do. We send angry letters, but we unify. So it's like, you don't have to be the writer of the letter. You can customize it to fit your voice or whatever, makes you the most comfortable, but you can communicate what, you can stand up for your values in a letter to the official responsible for making the offensive motion or movement or whatever it is, right? Like, you can stand up. And then when you show other people, like, it's like, I did this, and all you have to do is customize, this letter. Like, it's not like you need to quit your job and get a flag and start going to rallies. Like, it's not that, you know what I mean? You have to do like very little in order to just start doing something. Because like to your point earlier, it's like those 50 phone calls. If those 50 phone calls were people getting paid, then it's one person's voice shouting over all of us. And that's the problem with a lot of things. Like, you join a group, a dance group with your kids, and the whole thing goes, well, we're going to go to Jamaica for the group. And it's like, the one person with all the money is driving the whole thing. All the other parents don't want to upset the parent. They don't want to embarrass their kids, so they don't say anything. Well, that's what we're doing. We're all sitting here not saying anything because we don't want to customize a letter, or we don't want to like write a letter. You know what I mean? So at least these calls to action were one of the initial things that got me like excited to be involved. At the very beginning was like, oh, like, and actually do a thing. And then, like, I feel like I did something, as opposed to just belly aching all day. I was like, I actually did a thing. And if it was just my one letter, I'd be like, well, they're just going to throw it away. Like, it doesn't matter. And they might throw one away. But once they have 1,000 of them, they can't throw 1,000 of them away. And they record that they got them, because they could be awful threatening letters, or they could be encouraging ones. Like, they have to go through them and understand what they got and record them. So your voice is heard, even if they're not taking your letter into the court to go, we need to do something about this one person from Kamal County. It's the collective voice that we're working on. So
Yes, and if you've ever felt like, America is falling and there's all these problems with our country right now, I mean, the only way to really put this into context, and I just want you to really paint this picture for yourself. If it is really sinking, right? If the ship is really going down, um, where do you want to be in that fight? Where do you want to be on record of what you did? If it did go down and a century from now it was shown that you actually sent, this letter, and it was on record, and when things actually, because evil doesn't, win forever, right? We all know that. Like, evil can create chaos and havoc for a little while, but even, the Holocaust ended, right? Like, at some point, evil does come to an end. People realize, oh my goodness, what have I been doing? Why have I been quiet? Why have I not been speaking out? Why have I gone along with this? This has gotten so bad. How did it get so bad? It was inch by inch, inch by inch. But in the end, good prevails, right? So when good does prevail, where is your voice going to have been recorded that you gave a shit when everything was sinking? It's not one of those times to be like, who's going to win? Which side should I be on? Kind of cozying up to how I can position myself. In this kind of environment, in a communist world, you can't position yourself anywhere. It's all a bunch of wild cards and evil people, and that's just a recipe for disaster and for chaos. So for me, it's like, after all the time and all the study I put in to studying, what happened in World War II or World War I or whatever, it's like, where do I want to be in that point in history? Because I know a lot of people don't want to put their name on something, like on a letter. Like, I'm gonna read to you in a moment a letter that we are going to send, and it's not like we're sending this letter just to whoever. It's like you're sending it to real people. They're just people just like us who have been selected into various positions, whether in the United States or around the world. They're just a human being, just like you and me. They might be, driven by evil values or whatever their agendas are, but they still are a person who is going to receive a letter from you. And so you might be like, well, I don't want to put my name on that. I'm going to get on some list. Believe me, if you're like at all conservative, you're already on a list, right? Like, they've been tracking and building intelligence on you since Facebook started. And if you've ever been on there, your information has been collected. And so I kind of feel like at this point, whenever I hear that argument, I get super irritated, because it's like, who cares at this point? Like, if we're like all in, like, to help our kids, and literally sending letters, writing something with a pen that is not against the law, that is not at all inflammatory. It is not, inciting of violence. It's not going, to an event where something crazy could happen, like, like what happened on January 6th or whatever, where it's all just fake and who knows what's going on. And there's an active operation going on there. I mean, going to rallies for me is something that I used to do, going to protests and things at the Capitol, like when I was younger. And, I thought that kind of thing helped, until I realized, it really doesn't. Really what helps the most is writing down their words and holding them accountable. So when I say their words, like, these are laws that are in place on the books that have not been refuted, right? These are things that are still on paper. And when you put their words on paper and you send them that paper, like Bobby said, they have to record that they received that paper. This is the state we're in right now. Like, 6 months from now, who knows? But right now, we have the ability to get our voice heard on record, whether it's a letter or a lawsuit. All of that gets recorded, and all of that becomes a part of history. And as of right now, like, that's the way that we can fight. Acts of violence, these kinds of things, they're not necessary right now. Like, I know people will quote the Constitution and say, oh, well, if anything is repugnant to the Constitution or whatever the words are, then we can take up arms. And it's like, no, dude, like, we're not there yet. We have so much we can do right now with pen and paper that is huge. We are free on paper. We are. And God gave us those freedoms. The paper defends those freedoms, but like, use your words right now. Use your pen. Be in the arena using your pen. That is the best way to achieve our goals right now and to defend our rights. Bobby, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like after September 11th. It was like, see something, say something. Well, that's basically where we are now. If you see something that isn't right, write a letter about it, and then tell your friends to write a letter with you. You know, like we as a group through Focused Action and the Telegram groups will put out calls to action that are maybe statewide or even nationwide. But if you have something that is particularly offensive with your school board or your county or the township you live in, like, talk to your neighbors. They're probably angry too, and they don't know what to do, and they're just, somebody needs to fix it. Well, you can be that someone. See
Yes.
something that you
Grab
disagree
them, grab them and drag them to the city council meeting, or to drag them to the county commissioners meeting, and use the time, or even to the state capitol. Use the time that they give you. Oh, you get 2 minutes on record or 3 minutes on record, and just stand up and say anything to get it on record that you see that something is wrong, and what the law is that they are looking to break or have broken. Use their words against them. Find what is upsetting you and put it into words and speak it out. And if you're having trouble writing those words, get with other people, get into our groups, and we'll help. And it's just it just starts to flow. You've got to get used to doing it. But if you just sit there and think somebody else is going to do it, they're not.
They're
They're not. You're going to do it.
It's like, if you're sitting there waiting for somebody else to do it, those people are waiting for you to do it. So just do it.
Yeah, the people on the news aren't going to do it. The people, the influencers you follow aren't going to do it. If they're not telling you to do it, then you shouldn't even be listening to them. I mean, if they're like, oh, trust the plan, or, somebody else is going to swoop in here and fix things, then they are not the person that is helping you right now. I'm sorry, like that. The proof is in their action. And that is why we have this podcast, Focused Action. Okay, so I'm going to read to you this letter that I just printed out that I'm about to send 3 copies of, and I printed out another 3 copies for my husband. And I also plan to print out some copies for my neighbors, because, if I can get a few other people on my block or other places to send this, then that's that many more letters that are going to go. And it's pretty stinking awesome. I'm going to read this to you and who this is going to. This is what we are working on today, on May 31st, to send out today. Okay, so if you are not in our Telegram group, you can DM me or Bobby, me at Lenny BG, or Bobby at Bobby TX on Telegram, to get the link to our group, to get the Word document of this, so that you can print it, sign your name, put in your congressman. I'm going to tell you who we're sending it to. So we are sending it to Tedros, the Director General of the World Health Organization. To the main address here, I have his name, Tedros. I can't even pronounce it. Tedros Adhanom, whatever. Okay, and at the World Health Organization, 20 Avenue, Appia, 1211, Geneva, 27, Switzerland. Yes, we are mailing this letter to him. We are also mailing a copy of this letter to our Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, and also sending it to our U.S. congressman, so our House representative. And mine happens to be right now for U.S. District 10, and it's Mike McCall. Okay, so I'm going to send this to him as well. And I am going to send it to him in the mail, and I'm going to email him, and I'm going to send it to Paxton in the mail, and I'm going to email him, and then I'm sending it in the mail to Tedros, our favorite person. So here is what it says. Mr. Tedros, last name, whatever, I cannot pronounce. On May 23rd, 2022, I was made aware that an individual alleging to represent my citizenship status and rights stated the following to you and your organization. Quote, "That's Why the U.S. is pleased with the consensus reached this week on concrete action and further work to strengthen existing tools available to the WHO and all member states. This includes strengthening the international health regulations from 2005 to clarify roles and responsibilities, increase transparency and accountability, share best practices, and communicate in real time with our global partners. And that is from our Assistant Secretary for Global Affairs, Lois Pace. The Biden administration has already submitted amendments to the World Health Organization's proposed agreement. Such actions indicate that the Biden administration and its agents are actively violating the U.S. and state constitutions. This agreement essentially affords foreign nations dominion over our sovereignty and civil liberties provided to us by the U.S. Constitution. This is considered a high crime and even treason in our country. The purpose of this letter is to advise you that I have not and will not voluntarily relinquish my citizenship to the United States of America. I have not permitted, or will ever permit anyone on my behalf, nor is there a law that allows any elected, appointed, or usurper to have my citizenship canceled, shifted, or diluted. The Supreme Court has established that the 14th Amendment expressly denotes that citizenship cannot be shifted, canceled, or diluted at the will of the federal government, the states, or any governmental unit. The Attorney General of the state of Texas has been provided a copy of this notice to you to offer him the opportunity to protect the state of Texas's sovereignty. In addition, the selected member of Congress allegedly representing me is notified to attempt to remedy. I will be declaring this correspondence as evidence to the counts that I tried alternative remedies before filing a suit. No foreign or domestic entity has the right to control my bodily autonomy, genetic information, private information, and/or freedom without my consent. I recognize that all nations that subscribe to your organization are socialist monarchies or totalitarian governments, but the United States of America is one of a kind. This nation is run by and for the people. The Biden administration has no authority to transfer my civil liberties to any foreign organization and has no power to do so. I would like to take the opportunity to make it known that as a citizen of the United States, I am demanding that the United States withdraw our participation from all foreign organizations and cease providing my federal tax dollars to them. Sincerely, me, citizen of the United States of America, Texas, and then I CC'd Paxton and Mike McCall. So those are the kinds of fun letters we get to write and or send. And this is something that we are doing across all the states, but this is particularly focused to Texas. But if you're listening to this in another state, you can format it to the whatever state you live in and include your U.S. congressman.
And your state's attorney general.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, put them on notice. I mean, if you're in a state like my whole family's in California, so you could be like, my state doesn't care. It's like, well, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to start somewhere. Start with someone who doesn't care, and eventually you get more people who start to care.
Yes. The American Revolution was started by less than 1% of the people that lived.
Yeah, I mean, even feels like it was more flimsy than what we're doing now, because that was like a bunch of angry men in bars, just getting in arguments, right? Like the initial motivation was like, we're all meeting at different bars, and like is it the Green Dragon Tavern, right? They're meeting, they're discussing, they're getting angry bar fights. They're going home, hot and bothered. They come back the next day, and then they finally come up with agreements to make decisions that actually led to the formation of the country. So, I mean, you're starting with just writing an angry letter is the beginning of, an enormous snowball that's coming.
How did it feel to hear that read, Bobby?
I had not read all the way through it, so I was following along on every word. I am going to enjoy sending it, and I'm going to share it with a bunch of people, that I'm sending this, because just this weekend I took a bunch of families from my Bible study group. We went bowling, and they were like, all right, so they've typecasted me as the conspiracy theorist, which is fine. So they're like, all right, what's really going on? Like they all want to know what's really going on. And I'm gonna stop watching documentaries on Netflix. Like at first, stop watching those. It's not really helping you. Like they think they got the inside track because they watched the latest on Netflix. And I was like, no, no, that's not. I'm all. Have you considered that maybe some of our rights have been transferred to the World Health Organization? And I go, I mean, that's in direct conflict of the Constitution. And they just looked at me like I'm just making this up. Like this isn't something that's actually happening. I'm like, no, no, this is actually happening right now. Like, and I know like writing this letter might take 4 or 5 minutes to edit your name at the bottom and print and put a stamp on it. Like if you know how to print envelopes, I guess that's a little faster than writing the address on the envelope. But it's like very little work to get your voice heard in the group of people who have recognized what is going on. And you're like, this will not stand, right? Like it's just like this aggression will not stand, man. Right? Like this is like the Big Lebowski quotes right here. Like to just I've been pushed so far that I'm willing to send a letter, right? And I could even send one every day. That's how angry I am.
Yeah. You don't have to just send one. That's true. However many stamps you want to get, you want to buy, or however many emails you want to send, go for it. But these are the 3 people that you can send it to. So this is, a focused action right here. It's pretty simple. That's kind of it. So we have these kinds of things going on all the time. You can come up with these kinds of things to, to say to your school board or to your city council or to your county commissioner or to your sheriff or whatever. We've got to hold these people accountable. And we, again, a lot of it isn't necessarily, again, they were selected. So maybe it's not necessarily, maybe they're not going to necessarily listen to you. I mean, these are corrupt people who aren't even following our Constitution or our laws at this point. But the key point is to get it on record. Make them squirm. Make them realize that and that you are putting it on record. And, this is what's so amazing is that when you do put it on record, they do interesting things. So I called into a county commissioners meeting once and read through some things that some of our senators had put out about the vaccine, and it was actually information from VAERS, and it was all factual information. There was nothing in there that was conspiracy theory. Everything that I had said then, which was probably almost a year ago that I did this, has now been proven through studies to have been true. It was proven back then, but people just, were not listening to it. But one of the county commissioners, my county commissioner, my precinct, they put me on mute. Again, it's all calling in at that point, and actually responded by saying we should not allow people from the public to get on these calls and spread, such dangerous misinformation when all of it was complete fact. There was nothing in there that was like tinfoil hat. It was just like straight up stats and facts about the vaccine. But the fact that, she can say whatever she wants, but she can't say something like that because per our laws in Texas, we have open meeting laws where anybody in the public is allowed to be able to join and make their voice heard. She was advocating for silencing the voices in our community. Like that is not okay. And I have her on record saying that. So, when I choose to sue them, I'm still building my case, but when I choose to put that forward, I have that on record that she said that. That is totally against our laws and our United States Constitution. I'm sorry. I don't care. If we have people, you go join any of these, county commissioners meetings in any county in Texas, and you will hear people spewing the craziest things you've ever heard. Some mentally ill person can get up there and start talking about, their apple tree and, Mickey Mouse if they wanted to, and they would have to listen to it. That is what our country has put out there. That is what freedom is. That is what discourse is. And the fact that, I put something of truth on record that they did not want to hear caused her to respond in that manner, to actually break the law by saying that. She literally broke the law, did not uphold her oath to our state constitution, which is the oath that she took to sit in that seat in my county. Okay? So
And when she put you on mute and said this out loud, none of the other people in that body objected. So they all agreed with her, which makes them all guilty by association as well. Right?
Right. So
They
what
all
can I do about it? I can hold her accountable when I choose to do that. Right. I mean, there's a lot of things that they've done wrong, but I mean, again, you join, you say your piece, you talk, you see what they say, you gather, it's all part of it. And as, more and more people do this, it becomes a bigger case.
Another thing we did was question the county's authority to have meetings via Zoom. And we questioned it so much that they reversed it all in one day because we kept hounding them like, what, how is it legal for you to be running these meetings via Zoom? Like, we have a right to participate in the meetings, and that's not being muted on the phone. That's actually present in the meeting. And there is, just because you're afraid of getting the flu doesn't mean we're staying home. Like, we're going to be heard one way or the other. And then the very next day it was back on the schedule.
They updated the website and it was back on the schedule. Like, why are you still on your website saying the Zoom? The law is that we are supposed to be there in person. Please open it up. And you know what? The next day they didn't respond to us and say, oh, we're so sorry, or oh, it was a mistake. Nothing. They just, okay, show up. So, your voice, and that wasn't that many of us that said that. I think like 3 of us emailed them. Three people in a large county. This is Austin, Texas, Travis County.
In a blue county. Yeah. 3 people in a large blue county.
Yeah. And they fixed it. And we can now show up there in person. Because, if it had not been on the phone and I had been there in person and other people had been there in person, a collective gasp would have been heard at her saying that, right? Like, what? And I would have said something like, that is breaking the law. I could have said that out loud. They can't muzzle me and mute me in person, right? I could have put on record and could have been heard on the video, on the replay, on the archives, that everyone went, oh, that is against our democracy, right? Like what people say in blue counties, that is against our democracy, right? Like what, right? I mean, no. So it's really important to make your voice heard. Okay. So we really appreciate you. Again, DM Bobby or me on Telegram at LennyBG at BobbyTX to get the link to join our TTT Texas group so that you can see these calls to action, get in your county group so that you can go with a friend every week to the county commissioners meeting, to your city council meeting, to see where your money is going and to see what laws they are breaking and to see how they are corrupt. They will tell you any which way to Sunday in there. You just have to go and listen. It is really, really interesting and worth your time, especially in the time that we are in. The only way to save America is not to meme on social media, but to actually save your community, to be there, to put them on record, to hold them accountable. We, the people, are supposed to be running the show here. And these people that are in the office that have been selected are not running a very good show right now. It's more like a horror film, if you ask me.
Yes. They're trying to get as much as they can before they get thrown out.
Yes.
The writing's on the wall. We're coming for them.
Exactly. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.